Welcome to the Volleyball Growth Coach podcast. My name is Christopher Knowles, and today we are answering more of your TikTok comments like we do every week. A lot of comments and questions are asked in our TikTok comments section, so that's where we pick most of these questions from. So if you have any questions, leave us a comment on any of the videos that we post, and I will get to those as fast as I possibly can to answer those questions for you guys. If you guys have a teammate or a friend that you think can really benefit from a show like this and really learn from it so they can grow and develop as well, then share this show with them. The best way that this show and this podcast grow and get out there into the hands of many other young volleyball players is from you guys. The more you share it, the better it gets, the more it grows, and the more we can help each other get better and grow the volleyball community. So as we always do, we're going to jump straight in. First question is best way to study film of high-level players. So my first year of college, I think this is something I definitely wish I would have done more of. I didn't really even watch film of myself either. And so something I'm doing now is watching a lot more high-level plays and high-level games. I don't really watch the European clubs play each other. I watch more of the national teams. So USA versus Puerto Rico or Cuba versus Germany, whatever it is, more of those types of games. And the best things that I think really work for me in watching high-level players is literally focusing on just my position and what the player in that position is doing. Trying to find players that are very similar to me. So I'm a lefty oppo. If I can find someone on a national team that's a lefty oppo, I'm gonna go watch them. I also watch, break down every single one of their plays, right? So on a block, why did they get the block they got? Why did they get the swing they got? What did they see? What is the choice that they made, truly breaking down each play like that. So I would say those are the three biggest things that I do, is first, just seeing what do they do and why do they do it. That's the biggest thing, is okay, he made this shot. Why did he make that shot? What did he see against the block, right? How is he able to hit that shot, right? And all the different things, I think components like that of breaking down in detail what they're doing, but also more importantly, why they are doing it. Because if you can understand why higher level players than you are doing the things they're doing, then it makes it a lot easier to implement into your own game. Because if you just watch someone and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go do that, and you don't really know why or when they do it or when you should do it, then it's not going to really work, right? So figuring out, hey, this worked, this is why it worked, this is why he chose it to do it at that time, breaking down each one of their plays, I think has really helped me find things to apply to my own game that higher level players are doing. And then also finding players that, again, like I said, are similar to me, right? So if I was a shorter right-handed hitter, I would find players that are shorter and right-handed and learn from them. And then just making sure that it's the same position that I'm watching. A lot of times young players will just watch games fully through, not even really paying attention, and then they get through the whole game and they didn't really have any takeaways from it. So I think having a big intention of I'm going to watch this position, I'm only going to watch this guy, and then breaking down their play and why they do it is, in my opinion, the best way to watch high-level film and high-level games and get the most out of it as well. Question number 2, how to be faster on closing the seam as middle or be faster on blocking. I would say the two biggest things is really eye sequence and not guessing. I've seen with even some of my current teammates, and especially in the club times, is middle blockers will guess a ton. They'll be like, oh, he's definitely setting the outside and start moving right, and then they set the oppo and then they just get absolutely dusted. So I think the first biggest thing is make sure you're not guessing, right? Completely clear your mind when the setter is setting and just rely entirely on your reaction to what happens, right? And a great way to do that is what I said of eye sequencing, right? Especially as a middle, if you're doing the ball setter, ball hitter eye sequence, it makes blocking 10 times easier. For me, I'm not a middle, but for me as an oppo, I was having a lot of trouble with blocking recently, and then I realized I stopped focusing on my eye sequencing, and then when I refocused on my eye sequencing of ball setter, ball hitter, I started getting way more blocks because it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it, but it also gives you that little push of confidence that you know where that ball is going because you're keeping your eyes on it, right? A lot of young players will lose track of the ball, and then it's a lot harder to retrack the ball mid-block, and then that's why blocking is such a struggle. So I would say definitely for middle blockers, make sure you're hammering home on that eye sequence of ball setter, ball hitter, but then also not guessing while you're watching that ball and watching the setter, just purely making a block move off reaction, right? And then that also can lead into another thing of seeing telltale signs for setters, right? A lot of setters will start bending backwards with their back when they're going to set the oppo, and that's an easy tell, right? A lot of other setters are going to drop their hands a little bit when they're going to push it out to the fore, right? Then you can tell they're going to set the outside, right? And then blocking your own middle, you should already be in front of your own middle on the other side. And so that's just a reaction to jump straight up and block them because you're close enough and you can jump fast enough. So I would definitely say master the eye sequencing first of watching ball setter, ball hitter, and then seeing the telltale signs through that. Do they bend their back super far back when they're trying to set the back? Do they drop their hands? What do they do when they set certain positions? And then also just not guessing, right? A lot of players will try to predict where they're going to set, and then that just makes your blocking ability go down substantially because really most of the time there's going to be 3 options. So for you to kind of flip a coin and maybe try to guess the right position out of 3 people that they could possibly set, it's not a consistent thing that's going to get you a lot of great touches or blocks in general. So don't guess, work on the eye sequencing, and then find the telltale signs that your setter, or the setter that you're going up against, has. Got to get after it. My coffee mug says get after it. Question number 3. How do you get into the zone, something like the flow state? So this is something that I've actually been working on of like what works best for me and how do I get in my best state consistently. And something that I've really found for me personally, and I think can work really across the board, is not only finding what works best for you, that's an easy answer, just find what works best for you, but notice like when you are in the flow state, what got you there and what is keeping you there, right? Was it the music you listened to in the car ride over? Was it a certain like self-conversation you were having on the way over? Is it the mindset you have while you're getting your shoes on? Is it a certain routine that you do as you're getting prepared for practice? Is it how you warm up? All these, there's so many different aspects that go into getting you into a flow state. And then when you are in that flow state, take a second to step back and be like, okay, how did I get here? What did I do? What routines did I have? How did I warm up? What was I saying to myself, right? All these different things. And then also, how am I maintaining it? How am I communicating with my teammates to stay in flow state? Do I have high energy? Do I have low energy, right? Am I locked in and quiet, or am I super loud and passionate when I'm in flow state, right? So I think it's not like, hey, do these 3 things and then bam, you're in flow state. It really truly is what works for you. And how you find that is by taking a step out when you're in that good state or when you're getting in that good state and be like, okay, what am I doing? And remember it. Okay, I'm doing this routine when I'm getting my shoes on or before I'm getting my shoes on. Do that every day, right? This is what works, right? In the car ride over, I like listening to rock music, whatever it is, and that gets me in the flow state. Then do that every time on the way to practice, right? So that's really how you find the things that get you in the flow state and remember those things. But then I would also say for getting into flow state is also just being really focused on what you're doing in the moment, right? A lot of times that I've noticed that like sometimes my defense will be a little like lackadaisical and not really into it, or like my hitting is not as precise when I'm like just kind of fun and loose and not really warming up and not warming up intentionally and trying to do the right things. So that's what works for me, is like when everything has an intention and a focus behind it, right? You are intentionally listening to a certain thing in the car. You are intentionally doing certain things as you're warming up, right? You are intentionally doing the same stretch routine before you get going, right? You're intentionally getting your arm high and contacting hard when you're warming up your swing, right? In pepper, you're making disciplined moves and you're not just throwing your arms around and doing crazy stuff, right? So I would say it's that of like having intention and a focus every time you're in the gym. That is what has consistently worked for me and given me good results when I play. And then also just finding what works for you by noticing, hey, this got me in a good state, this got me really focused and things like that. And then it's something I've also noticed is like, it sounds pretty simple, but just also having a good attitude heading into the gym. Like something I learned like through going through difficult times in my club year is like the volleyball club and the volleyball court, wherever you are, needs to be your sanctuary, right? Like where you let go of everything else happening externally, right? Sometimes I still let that happen, but it used to be a lot more before. But it's like anything that's happening outside of like the volleyball court, right? School's not going well, whatever, family problems, like your knees hurt, you like twisted something while you're working out, whatever it could be, like girlfriend or boyfriend problems, whatever it is outside the volleyball court should not be brought onto the court, right? And this is something that I really even did yesterday. It was like I had a bad attitude coming in and I brought that attitude onto the court. And so that's already starting me at a deficit since I'm coming in with a bad attitude. So then if I start making mistakes, I'm going negative, and that's where frustration happens, right? So I think always coming in with a good and positive attitude of like, hey, I'm going to have fun today, but I'm going to be focused, right? Get rid of everything else that's happening externally and just focus on having fun, because that's what really volleyball is all about, is being passionate in the sport we love, right? So biggest thing is getting rid of all the external things and focusing in on having a positive attitude, finding what works by noticing, hey, I'm in a flow state. This is what I did to get here, and this is what I did to maintain it and continue to be in this flow state. And then the third thing of just having a focus and intention and a commitment to what works for you. Question number 4. What if I have 4 to 5 times practice and games on the weekend? So this comment was on the video that I made about like working out during the week. And so this is a great question, because if you practice 4 to 5 times a week and you play games on the weekends, which is basically like hypothetical situation, if you practice Monday through Thursday and you have a game on Saturday, then as far as weights goes, you would want to do more recovery stuff and stretching rather than actually putting more load on your body with heavy weights and things like that. Like for us college players right now, in the technically off season, or for guys before the spring season starts and for the girls after their season is over, like right now we're doing a lot of heavy load stuff because we only practice twice a week, right? So we have that ability and capacity to put heavy loads on our body in the weight room of like doing heavy squats, doing split squats, doing really difficult compound movements, stuff like that. And so that's where it's generally okay, because you have, like I said, the capacity to do it, right? You have leftover energy on the days you don't practice, so that energy should be used to move your abilities forward, right? But in this scenario, if you practice 4 to 5 times a week and you have games on the weekend, in my opinion, if, like I said, if you practice Monday through Thursday and you play on Saturday and you have Friday and Sunday open, Friday should really be used for stretching, right? Stretching, getting back that energy and capacity that you've been using up in practice to prepare yourself for the games on the weekend, right? So Friday should be leg stretching, shoulder stretching, right? Even like rolling your foot on a ball, things like that. And then Sunday should really be spent doing nothing, right? Like letting your body do what it naturally does to recover, right? So in season, there's going to be a lot more recovery, quote unquote, workouts compared to heavy load workouts that we do in the off season. So if you are practicing way more than you are, like if you're in season, right? Like this question is asking, if you practice, I would say more than 4 times a week, then I would definitely say take the load off the workouts and do more mobility movements, right? Strengthening the tiny little muscles that account for your stability and strength and balance and things like that, right? Rather than trying to build muscle and tear down your muscles in workouts and then tear them down even more in practice, that's probably going to lead to injury, right? So it is definitely a balance with working out in practice. If practice times and quantity of like going more days picks up, then either the amount of working out should decrease or the strain of the workout should decrease. Like I said, like less load, less weight, more recovery, and more movement things. And then also as games and tournaments pick up, stretching is going to be a huge thing as well. And also recovery as far as eating, right? What you're eating is going to fuel how fast you recover and how quickly you recover in order to use the maximum energy that you can in the game coming up or the tournament coming up or the practice or whatever it is. So if your practice times and quantities are picking up, decrease the load and the quantity of the amount of time you're in the weight room so that you can still have high energy for tournaments and games and things like that. How can I spike, question number 5, how can I spike bad sets more easily? Basically be more flexible. So this is actually a perfect question for me because in my club seasons, like practically throughout my entire club career, I always got, most of the time got the bad sets, right? And the reason this was is because how we ran our team was the opposite is supposed to get the trash sets, right? We want to run our outsides in system, we want to run our middles in system, and if we're in a little bit of a chaos out of system play, that's where we go to the opposite because that's who's going to be the most reliable, and I'm going to be the most reliable in that scenario to either put the ball away or cause chaos on the other side. So I would say, speaking from experience, that's the first thing, is make sure that you have the intention to, if you can't score, right, if it's truly difficult to score and put the ball away, then the next thing on the list is cause chaos on the other side. A lot of players in out of system, and when they get bad sets, will literally just practically throw over a free ball and then get that ball ran back down into their face, right, because they just gave them an easy ball. So I would say if you get a bad set, still be creative to find a way to cause chaos on the other side, right? If it's super low, set it to where the setter is so the libero has to make a set on the other side, or throw it over the left or right back's head so the middle back has to make a crazy play to get a pass, right? Put it in the donut, put it to the off blocker, right? There's so many different ways to cause chaos if you get a bad set, or just cause chaos in general, but especially with bad sets or out of system sets, if you can't truly put the ball away, still try to cause chaos on the other side with some of the things I just listed or other ways that you find to cause chaos. And another way you can score that also causes chaos at the same time is like throw it off the hands, or you can even recycle it where you toss it off the hands and it pops back on your side, basically like a free ball where you get to run your offense again, right? So that's basically how to be more flexible explained, right? That's what the question is asking, is basically be more flexible. Those are ways to be more flexible as a hitter, right? Flexibility is not, right, if we were constrained to we can either score or cause an error, that's not being flexible, right? Being flexible is opening up your mind. Okay, I'm very flexible because I can cause chaos, I can get the setter out on that side, I can make the middle back make a play, right? I can make the off blocker work, I can also put the ball away, I can also recycle it, right? That's being more flexible as a hitter because you have more options. So I would say that's my biggest thing. But then also, if you truly want to put a ball away, like getting a bad set or out of system, I would say wait, right? This is something that I've been working on, is like we can really get in the habit as hitters to just make the same approach every time and just go, go, go. But every volleyball play is completely different. There's no volleyball play that's the exact same. So your approach should never be the exact same, right? And especially with bad sets and out of system sets, wait, like hold yourself from starting your approach for like a half second or even a full second longer and see how the play is unfolding, right? Something I'm working through with my setters right now is like when they're running all the way to the outside and they're like halfway across the, like on the other side of the court from me, it would not be smart to start my approach as the ball's getting into their hands, because now I'm going to be early, right? So it's adapting to that of like, hey, he's all the way across the court, I'm going to wait and see where this ball goes, right? If they're super close to you, again, waiting, see, are they going to set it short or are they going to set it tall, right? So I would say those are the two biggest things, is being more flexible by opening up your shot range, right? Like everything I just listed, but then it's also making sure that you're waiting, giving it a second to unfold, see what the play is happening, and then making an aggressive approach so that you can still convert or cause chaos rather than putting yourself at a detriment of just making the same approach every single time and you're early or you're late or you're behind it or you're in front of it, all of those things. So that is the episode for this week. I hope you guys really enjoyed. Again, if you guys have any more questions or concerns or things you want to know or learn, put your questions in the comment section on our TikTok or Instagram at Volleyball Growth Coach. And I will see that and put you in this podcast and hopefully answer your question to the best of my ability. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we will see you next time, and always grow together.